Welcome back to our mid-season showdown. This is our semifinals. We got Joshua Denk versus Joji Kaieda. This is going to be a very interesting one because both of them have picked restricteds that are both weak to each other and very good to each other. We have Zamazenta versus Terapagos. Now, Zamazenta obviously can body press. Terapagos has earth power. It's going to be a battle of positioning. And you're going to see Josh on the left with Zamazenta. This one, it says Hero of Many Battles forms on the sheet. It's going to be its shield form. That's just how you have to put it. But Zamazenta, Rillaboom, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Chi-Yu, Whimsicott, and Landorus Incarnate. Well, Joji gonna run Tornadus Incarnate, Fluttermane, Terapagos, Chi-Yu, Ogerpon Cornerstone, and Amoonguss.
Yeah, and it's something we've heard a lot of talk about metagame-wise in the last few weeks is Zamazenta and Terapagos as the two top restricteds. I believe they were the two top usage and success ones at Stockholm. We'll see how they do at Los Angeles. The regionals, we're seeing how they're doing in Los Angeles right now, but
Yeah,
that's that's unrelated. It's an interesting matchup because yeah, they do certainly both have big advantages into each other. Zamazenta can be a little low on the special defense. It's still very bulky, but doesn't get the +1 like it does in the defense, and it just is naturally bulkier on the physical side. So it does take a lot of damage from that earth power. At the same time, if you can get two body presses off on the Terapagos, the first one's not very effective. The second one will absolutely lay into it.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is you could play around with, kind of like follow me mechanics. You can play with Tailwind. I think that's going to be important for Terapagos. Your Zamazenta should be faster, but what's interesting with Terapagos is this is choice spec, so it is going to be hyper offensive, and I think it's going to be interesting to kind of deal with. Rillaboom's good into it with fake out, so that way you could just fake out then body press. It's going to be pretty much Joji's game to protect that thing, and there is that Zamazenta and Rillaboom lead for Joshua while Joji leads with Tornadus and Terapagos.
Fun little turtle.
I think here it's an interesting one. Terapagos can't really do all that much. It can get faked out and then body pressed, and then Tornadus, at best, it could scary face, but Bleak Wind Storm, I think it's gonna. Both of these are on Joshua's side. Are gonna be able to take that pretty easily. So, question now becomes: do you go for the obvious play, hitting the Terapagos, or do you do something different, expecting a swap out onto it?
Yeah, I feel like you at least have to tag the Terapagos. That's the thing as well, though, is that even if you fake out the Terapagos, if it's able to, okay, and it's just gonna swap out. It does just say Terapagos.
And the Tornadus cannot get faked out because it is Covert Cloak, but we're going to see Fluttermane swap on it instead. Good switching if a body press was to go into that slot because it's not going to take any damage. However,
same with the fake out.
Yeah. So the question is, there's the Heavy Slam, but the Heavy Slam goes on to the Tornadus slot, so Josh did call that swap out.
Still good damage. Ooh, misses the Rillaboom. That's big.
That's the one you needed to hit.
Yeah, that would have been pretty important. And the Rillaboom, gonna get the U-turn out. Basically the same as going for the fake out onto the Terapagos, but instead it also hits the Fluttermane, which is very convenient. And it's not that important, but it still means that Rillaboom gets to swap out and,
yeah,
feel good.
I feel like there's two options here. Both of them are good. The first is to go into the Chi-Yu and just kind of start going for Dark Pulse or Heat Waves, and then, what you can go for afterwards is just Heavy Slam into the Fluttermane slot. But then you also had the Whimsicott, which I think Tailwind's going to be important with Tornadus on the field too. Tornadus, I'm assuming Tornadus is going to Tailwind, so that way Terapagos can outspeed the Zamazenta. But that also means you're kind of wasting a damage turn. I know Bleak Wind doesn't do too much, but I think it's important when both of Joshua's Pokemon are going to be able to benefit from the grassy terrain, because I think with Grassy Recovery, Fluttermane is only a 2-hit KO onto Chi-Yu. So.
Whoa, Slugma. Sorry, we'll stop bringing attention to it. I saw Slugma and I was like, ooh, Slugma. In any case, Tornadus is going to protect, stall out the turn. That's not smart. A bad idea, yeah. So, you can at least, get a little bit of damage down with that Moonblast.
Yeah, it's a 3-hit regardless.
Ooh, and get the special attack drop. That's nice. That is definitely nice. That is not nice if you are Fluttermane. That's pretty bad if you're Joji, actually.
Yeah, losing Fluttermane right away is not fun. And Heat Wave is going to come out from the Chi-Yu, but it's not going to do anything because of that Protect. And like I said, you do need a little extra damage to get rid of that Chi-Yu. It's going to recover a decent chunk there from the grassy terrain. Essentially just a little bit of leftovers help, but What's interesting to me now is what is the Terapagos going to do? It's in a position where I don't think it's safe to come in right now. I think you got to go for your other Mon, and if that is something like Chi-Yu, that is maybe great. Yeah, that's actually really good. It's an interesting case because on one hand it's really good because it can hit Zamazenta pretty hard regardless with whatever fire attack, heat wave or overheat. The other hand is Zamazenta could just one-hit KO it as long as your Joshua's own Chi-Yu breaks the focus sash. But I wouldn't even be surprised if Joji goes for a Terra Ghost. You don't necessarily need to Terra your Terapagos late game. It's going to do solid regardless. But we're not going to see that. We're going to see an attempt to double protect from Torn.
Yeah, and not going to succeed. The Chi-Yu will get the protect off. Curious where this is all going, especially because the Zamazenta, if it read it, it could have... well, no, you can't really not attack the Chi-Yu right now. Let's see if the Heat Wave finishes off the Tornadoes. It is at -1 special attack, but it is still Chi-Yu.
Yeah. Oh, it crits. It doesn't even matter.
Crit, so I guess the minus doesn't matter.
I think that right now...
The problem with Joji stalling out all these turns is it's also giving Zamazenta HP back. I think at this point, that is the Terapagos coming back out. I feel like at this point you just have to start hitting with Terapagos.
I think Joji should have tailwinded on the last turn. That way you could have at least knocked out one of the two and kept your ability in check. I think right now, if the Heat Wave hits both, Josh is not in a terrible position. The hard part, though, is just this Zamazenta goes down to an overheat no matter what. And that is scary.
Ooh, and that's going to be the Terastal onto the Chi-Yu for Joji.
That's not bad. I thought that was going to happen a turn earlier, but you really do not want to get body pressed. That is Zamazenta's biggest weakness. Terra Ghosts and just Ghost types in general. But nice protect there.
I definitely get that, although at the same time I do think kind of got to get Terapagos. Terapagos has to do something. Double connects.
That's pretty solid on both.
Breaks the Terra Shell is the problem, and the overheat not going to connect.
Yeah.
Right into that protect. This is I didn't really consider the gravity of this until now, but this is a wide guardless Zamazenta.
I think Josh may be able to pick this one up now. I'll tell you why. Terra Starstorm is the move that Terapagos is locked onto because it's choice specs.
Yeah, sure is.
Resisted. Whimsicott comes in, clicks Tailwind, Heavy Slam should be able to pick up now that Chi-Yu is Terra Ghost. You don't have to worry about the Chi-Yu doing much. I'm pretty sure Heavy Slam's going to do enough. You could also just go for the body press on this turn specifically, get your Tailwind up. Know the Terapagos is going down, go back into Rillaboom and click Woodhammer. And that will also do it. And this Whimsicott is Focus Sash, so it's definitely staying up for one more turn, which is very useful. I think because that Chi-Yu went down, Josh just is in the best position possible right now, but doesn't go for the Tailwind. I guess you don't necessarily need it if you know your zones just faster.
Yeah, and getting the Terapagos out of the way is probably...
I think it still would have. I still think the Tailwind would have been useful for the Rillaboom, because if this Whimsicott does potentially get burned, you are in a tougher position. But I think it's going to be okay here.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, even if both of those Pokemon had dropped... if both those Pokemon had dropped and then you have to go Rillaboom, the Terra's still available, I think, right?
Yes.
So even then, Rillaboom could have come in and Terra'd and been fine. Yeah, I think ultimately there was not a lot of ways for Josh to lose this battle.
No. Once that Whimsicott came out, it was just exactly what needed to happen. That's a good example of wanting your own Pokemon to go down to position yourself better.
Yeah, and it's something that I think is interesting about this metagame in particular is that with one restricted, hey, look, it's different as Zamazenta. With only one restricted, it means that you can devote a lot of weird resources to getting rid of your opponent's restricted, and it feels worth it.
Yeah.
Because of how important those Pokemon are. Yeah, where it's like that was a lot of damage that was devoted to getting rid of that restricted, but it meant that the Terapagos isn't there anymore, and it meant that like you can Terastallize, you can do damage, you could do all sorts of things. But I even think Josh missed out on a little bit of the overlay is a little incorrect.
Yeah.
I will it'll be figured out. It'll be figured out momentarily.
Josh won round one. But I think
Josh won.
Josh won, yeah. But I think here, one thing that's interesting...
Sorry, I just want to finish my point from a moment ago.
Go ahead.
I think there were a lot of moments there where Josh could have gone for like a iron defense, which wasn't super meaningful into this matchup. There's not a lot of physical attackers, but it's also just a damage move for Zamazenta.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of times where there was a double protect or some other passive move by Joji's side that Josh didn't take advantage of, and I wonder if Josh will try to take more advantage of that later in this series, knowing that, and frankly, it's not even that necessary because the Zamazenta just does so much damage.
Well, actually, even looking at this, like, Tornadus is you want to go heavy slam, Fluttermane you want to go heavy slam,
yeah.
Chi-Yu and Terapagos are one hit to body press, Cornerstone's one hit to body press. There's not really any use to go for iron defense.
That's fair, yeah.
So, I do think we will see this Ogerpon come in instead. I think it's solid. I think the Chi-Yu's still scary because you have to really bait it out. But we're going to see Chi-Yu and Whimsicott lead for Joshua's side, and Joji leading with Fluttermane and Tornadus.
Yeah, it's going to be Tailwind's available on both sides.
This Fluttermane is booster speed. The hard part for Joji is there's not a lot that they can do into Joshua's Chi-Yu. And Chi-Yu can just Heat Wave, and Whimsicott, I think a Tailwind is very useful, especially too because if this Tornadus does go for anything but Bleak Wind Storm, Encore, and you just get a you dodge that Bleak Wind.
Yeah, exactly. Either you get the Tailwind advantage, like the free Tailwind advantage, or you get to Encore it into Tailwind repeatedly.
And even if it's a switch in, just not taking a Bleak Wind is really useful.
Moonblast with the critical hit. Not going to drop the special attack, though, and so this will do a lot of damage. Not going to pick up the knockout on either of them. Will burn the Fluttermane. Not that's super important, but it does mean that this actually, well, I guess it doesn't matter.
I think there's a good play here. I would actually switch this Chi-Yu out because you know you're going to go down to a Moonblast. I would probably go into Rillaboom if you have it, and then Encore Tornadus. That way you can at least go for the Grassy Glide into... Oh! Venusaur!
You could also switch into Venusaur.
Yeah, switch into Venusaur, of course.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think this Whimsicott actually has a lot of options. It doesn't need to Encore. It could also try to just take something out.
Yeah, you can
I think a Moonblast will knock out something. I think a Moonblast will honestly knock out Fluttermane.
The hard part is you're probably losing Whimsicott if you target the Fluttermane.
Probably, but that's a risk I'd be willing to take. Yeah. I want Fluttermane out of there.
Yeah.
Zamazenta comes on in.
Good.
And there's the Protector Read.
All right, I take it back. That's actually super useful because, yeah, the Icy Wind, that's okay. Zamazenta doesn't need to be that fast right now. It's bulky enough. And you can now Encore Tornadus into Protect.
Yep.
That's big. So good read there from Josh.
Yeah. Well, and aside from everything else, like, Tornadus is just on so little HP. Like, you can be pretty comfortable with what it's doing right now. And frankly, if it tries to hit you, you can just cover it with Whimsicott. Like, you can just knock it out. I don't think you got to Encore or anything. I think you could just use Moonblast on it.
Although I think you're slower now thanks to the Icy one from Fluttermane.
Oh, yeah, the Icy
one. Gotta go
for
the Encore, yeah.
I forgot about that. That's Terapagos. It's a little turtle. Little turtle turns into medium-sized turtle.
What's interesting about Terapagos coming out now makes me realize, okay, there's a good chance that Chi-Yu is not the last Pokemon. I think Chi-Yu would have been a really nice switch in for Joji. Well, we're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out what the last Pokemon is. It's Chi-Yu.
Okay, well, that's, I guess, not bad switching it in now. I feel like that was... It's solid.
And this is going to be the Terastal here onto the Terapagos.
Here's
the Terrastellar. This thing could just be hitting.
What's interesting is
it's actually kind of scary.
It is though weak to body press, and I think at +1 body press.
It's faster is the problem. Encore comes out, not going to do anything because Chi-Yu is, of all reasons, it's because Chi-Yu is a Dark type, and that Earth Power is going to knock out the Zamazenta with a Stellar bonus.
Well, that's not what I expected.
Because it's faster because of the Icy Wind.
That is wild. I thought that the Zamazenta would live with like 2 HP. I didn't think it was going to be enough, but Choice Specs Terapagos.
It's just not that specially bulky. It's still specially bulky, but not that specially bulky. Not for Specs Terapagos with the Stellar bonus.
I think we're going to see...
It does mean that Terapagos probably has to switch out the
Yeah,
but...
definitely switching it out.
But it also means that you can bring it back in and just click Starstorm.
Yeah.
Like whenever it does come back in.
There's not much you can do against that. It's not over for Josh. I think right now the ideal play is to go ahead and Woodhammer out. I would be surprised if Chiyu doesn't protect right now. I think the play is to just reset your Terapagos. And then you could go for the attack this turn and just bring out the Tornadus when one of your two goes down, so that way you can reset the Tailwind for Terapagos or
I was
Chiyu.
gonna say, I'm not sure how much time is left on these Tailwinds. I think it's only 1 or 2 turns.
It's like, it's 50-50, and I think speed control is going to be important, even though I think Joji's in a better position.
No, switch outs.
Focus Hash broken on Joji.
Might have been reading the Terra on the Rillaboom. No, just trying to pick up the knockout on the Whimsicott. Weird.
Okay. That's an interesting...
Not a super meaningful turn, but strange.
That's an interesting...
And I suppose it stalls out the Tailwind, and now... Well, now, here's the weird thing, is that if you bring back in the Tornadus to get the Tailwind up, maybe you just don't. Maybe your Tornadus goes down when it tries to come back in.
I think right now... I think you Tailwind and Woodhammer... I think you Tailwind Woodhammer onto the Chiyu slot. I think that's probably the play. Lock. I don't think you Terra here, because I think there's a good chance that this Tropico switches out. I think you just Tailwind and Woodhammer Chiyu, because Chiyu's not physically defensive. If the Tropico,
I might aim in the Terapagos slot, honestly. Like, either you get rid of the Tornadus and then you have the speed advantage for the rest of the battle.
Yeah, that's smart too. There's a couple good options here with Rillaboom. We are going to see the Terrestrial. It is going to go to Fire. So as long as Tropicos didn't target it with Earth Power, then that's a nice play. But if Joji was able to read it, and that Earth Power connects with Rillaboom, that's going to do a lot of damage.
There is the Tailwind.
The Rillaboom should move first. Goes for the Woodhammer onto the Terapagos.
Yeah.
That is a good 50% there.
Good damage, but not that good. And since it has Terastallized...
If this misses on Whim, that's going to be important.
Ooh, there is the miss on the Whimsicott, as you mentioned.
Earth
and the Earth Power. It should do a lot of damage to whatever it hits here. And it picks the Rillaboom who Terastallized, and so that Rillaboom is now out of the way.
It's
weird turn.
So close. Yeah, that was a good read there from Joji, expecting that Terrestrial. Kind of had to, because of that Heat Wave, regardless. But this is an interesting one. I think the good news is your Chiyu can pick up a Heat Wave, but the question is how much does it do? Obviously, if you're Joshua, you're faster with both Pokemon, and you can go for a Heat Wave and then Moonblast onto the Chiyu to make sure it is gone. But then you really have to... I think Joshua has an out here. If you target the Chiyu, get rid of it, and then go for the Moonblast onto Tornadus, this Terapagos is locked onto Earth Power. This Whimsicott might be able to win it. If that didn't happen.
Oh, and no knockouts, and the Heat Wave lands on both Whimsicotts down, and the Earth Power will be able to pick this one up and tie us up at 1.
Yeah, you were kind of contingent on that Heat Wave plus Moonblast knocking out the Chiyu on Joji's side. If that happened, I think it would have been close, but Joji takes game number 2.
Indeed, and means we're heading to game number 3. That was a very interesting battle. We were talking about it constantly. We thought that Terapagos would switch out and reset the Earth Power at some point. It didn't. Thought it'd try to switch to Starstorm, and it never did, and it kind of didn't need to. There was a lot of stuff that was weak to ground there.
Yeah.
Zamazenta, Rillaboom after Terastal, which was kind of a weird choice, although... Yeah, I don't know. Kind of an odd choice. It meant that it wasn't weak to Chiyu anymore, but still, it was kind of an odd choice.
I think the Chiyu still would have picked it up if it didn't Terastral, so kind of had to.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting one going into the next battle here, because, you know, you saw how much damage Earth Power does onto Zamazenta. That's a lot. And you gotta play against that. You could Terra to Grass, but then you're weak to Chiyu. So it's like Chiyu's just gonna be able to knock out Zamazenta regardless. I think you really gotta play your Tailwind cards right. I think ideally you just go for the same lead and focus on getting rid of the Flutter Mane and then switch out Zamazenta. Because if you have speed control, you're able to hit so much. Because if not, then your Zamazenta could just get earth powered or overheated, and that's it. So I think if you're Joshua, you're like, let's focus on getting speed control on Zamazenta, because that I think is your win condition here. Ooh.
Gonna be the Tailwind leads again, but this time it's Zamazenta very large in the foreground and Chiyu very small in the background. Very weird size for Zamazenta up close. But this does mean that Chiyu is gonna hit both these Pokemon really hard.
Yeah, we're gonna see that Tailwind come out.
See the Tailwind. It means that Whimsicott did not Tailwind.
What's interesting, this Chiyu's definitely hitting something. Heat Wave.
And it missed something. It misses the Zamazenta.
That's very important for Joshua.
It's really important. Another big miss on the Heat Wave for Josh.
And that is going to be very
They're going to try to knock out the Tornadus, and I think they're going to succeed, yeah.
Very nice there. Very nice.
Certainly nice, but at the same time, it means that Tailwind is up.
You can reset your own Tailwind.
Yeah, you can set your own Tailwind. That's Flutter Mane.
That's smart. Heat Wave's very scary.
Yeah.
I think you Tailwind and Protect, actually. I think that's probably the right play. You want to put pressure on, and I think also if this Ogerpon is the last Pokemon, that is really, really useful for Josh, because then you can just... Okay, that is interesting. I guess trying... I think that... Okay, double Protect, wasting Tailwind. That's fair. Yeah, I think if your goal right now is to set up Tailwind, and then if you have Ogerpon, that's very good, because you can go for the Terrestrial on Ogerpon, resist the Heat Wave from the Chiyu, and pretty much everything else, assuming that Terapagos is the last Pokemon, because then you're free to just Terra and get your +1 boost right away. We did see that Overheat as well, so swapping up the move there, trying to focus the Zamazenta. But yeah, I think you just click Tailwind and then switch. You're gonna maybe have to sacrifice Zamazenta here, but...
Or just let something else go down, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Zamazenta could probably take out the Flutter Mane right now. Like
if
you can go 1-for-1 or something.
If it survives,
Zamazenta should go first. No, actually, yeah. I'm doing the math in my head. No, actually,
it would have gone. Yeah, that
because yeah, it would get icy winded. Yeah,
and
like as you're about to witness right now, unless Overheat misses.
If Overheat misses, that's Josh's win condition.
Ooh, very cool critical hit on the icy wind.
I wouldn't say it's still over, but it's looking really good for Joji.
And Heat Wave does land and knocks out the Zamazenta.
Yeah. I think you had to, I assume Chiyu's the last Pokemon, and I think it's Chiyu and Ogerpon. I think you had to switch into Chiyu there.
Yeah.
And then that would have been better, but...
Ogerpon.
Okay, this also isn't horrible.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. But you could, good news, you could Terra your Ogerpon and take hits.
Yeah, you can always Terra your Ogerpon.
And then I think your win condition for Josh, if you're Josh right now, is you Terra your Ogerpon. Oh, well, the Chiyu's not such. You gotta go Heat Wave and then Terra, Water, Ivy Cudgel, one of the two. And then hope Terapagos isn't the last one.
Yeah, it has to be. I don't know what world we'd be living in where Terapagos is not the last one.
Yeah. I mean, I think the path for Josh is you gotta go for a Heat Wave, Terra Water, get rid of the Chiyu. Hope that Heat Wave does 50% onto Flutter Mane. I think it does. And then I believe there's I'm trying to remember the Tailwind turns. Tailwind could run out on this turn for Joji, and if that's the case, you click Heat Wave again on, but Flutter can protect, so.
Yeah, I think and I think it's an additional turn. Maybe not. It's somewhere
if you, basically your goal is to just outspeed with your own Tailwind, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Especially with that.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Icy Wind will continue putting up that that speed differential.
And I'm Dark Pulse.
Dark Pulse. Wow, that did like kind of nothing.
To be fair, you really don't necessarily need Chiyu to do anything at the moment. There's that Focus Sash.
Yeah, that is the Focus Sash. This isn't like...
It's not terrible.
Actually, well, it's not terrible, except for the fact that Terapagos is about to come in and click Terra Stellar, Terra Starstorm.
Yeah, that's not fun. But there is one interesting thing about that, which is...
What's the interesting thing?
It is not... the Tailwinds run out.
Yeah.
Josh's Pokemon are -1
Yeah.
there's a good chance both of Josh's Pokemon outspeed Joji's, and Joji needs to.
I think that Flutterman's faster.
Even at neutral speed,
It's booster
gonna
speed.
be close. Well, no, I mean, I think
Yeah.
even if both of Josh's Pokemon are at neutral speed, there's a good chance that it could outspeed the Terapagos.
Yeah.
And with Ivy Cudgel's crit ratio,
outspeeding the Terapagos is a bigger thing. Yeah.
that's what you gotta do. That's what you gotta click Icy Wind and just Terra Starstorm. But by terrestrializing,
There's the Terrastal.
you do lose the Terra Shell, which is important.
But you also do gain like some defensive stats, and you're turning a not very effective hit to a neutral hit, and in exchange getting some defensive stats out of it, and you can catch a Sylveon.
Sylveon, Hyper Voice, no. There's that Ivy Cudgel.
We will see the Ivy Cudgel come out first.
Potential crit, 1 in 8 shot. Does not get that.
A little under half. Heat Wave, ooh. Kind of would have liked to see the overheat there.
Ooh.
Not enough. Burn does come up, but the problem is Terra Starstorm is going to do a ton of damage here.
It's gonna come out if if the Ogerpon lives out.
It's one Terra Star. Ogerpon's gonna get crushed. It's super effective.
It is +1 though. It's +1 in special defense. Oh, the Chi-Yu hangs on! The Chi-Yu hangs on!
I was gonna say, I think that the Ogerpon is the one that's gotta be worried about it, but the Chi-Yu actually takes those.
If this Chi-Yu hits Heat Wave,
still in.
It wins.
It just has to hit a move. It can go for. Should have gone for Dark. Oh wait, no,
it's Scarf.
It's locked.
Josh Denk takes the win with 9 HP.
With 9 HP off the Terra Starstorm. That was wild.
I don't even know how to react to that one. That was insane. Okay, never underestimate Chi-Yu's defensive stats ever again. That is nuts.
He's got some special bulk.
Now I'm curious if there was any investment in that, or if that was just like 252, 252.
I feel like it's. I think Chi-Yu actually has a little bit of special defense.
It's gotta.
Like, just a touch of special defense. And that's the thing is that like Ogerpon got lit up because the Terra Starstorm was super effective because it was terastallized, and because the Beads of Ruin.
Yeah. So that +1
and neither of those things were the case for Chi-Yu.
Crazy.
And so Chi-Yu is barely able to take that hit. And that means Josh Denk will move on to the finals. And we will momentarily find out who he will play against. We'll take a quick break and come back in the final round. Don't go anywhere.
We'll see if this Chi-Yu takes more hits later. So.